Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. So for today's episode, we are going to talk about women and anger. You know, how we've been conditioned, how it shows up in our lives, what we think about it, how it's perceived. Pretty much anything and everything having to do with women and anger. So yeah, generally in society, anger is not seen as a good look on women. Women are not allowed to be angry. Women are not allowed to express it. Women are sometimes not even allowed to feel it or to even think about anger. We're definitely conditioned by society to be nice and good. Bubbly, yes, happy. And polite and happy, yes,
sugar,
sweet,
spice, and everything nice.
Yeah, and not a whole lot of spice though, right? Like it's like a whole lot of sugar, maybe a tiny bit of spice, but not too much. So anger is not seen. Anger is not valued or allowed for women.
Or seen as feminine.
Exactly. Anger is seen as a masculine, a masculine arena.
Yeah, you know what? I call bullshit.
Absolutely.
I call bullshit on that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, definitely. Call bullshit on that for sure.
I call bullshit because you want to talk women in anger? I'm pissed off, Raquel.
As you should be. There's a lot to be pissed off about right now.
I am pissed off. Actually, today I'm in a really great mood, but when we talk about anger, I'm like, yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry about a lot of stuff, and I have been for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things in the world right now for people to be angry about. And I think there's always things in the world for people to be angry about. I think there's a quote that says, and I'm just going with the gist of it, people. So, and if anybody knows the specific quote and who it's attributed to, definitely let us know. I'd love to know. But something along the lines of, if you aren't angry, you aren't paying attention.
Right on. What would you say if you had to say, okay, these are the top 3 things as a woman in today's society that I'm angry about? What are your top 3 things?
The way that women of color are treated in our society. And it isn't just in the U.S. I mean, it's worldwide. Women in general are not valued. We're paid less. We're treated as second-class citizens. The work that we do is not valued. Whether it's working inside the home or work that is traditionally seen as women's work, like being a nurse or being a teacher or, taking care of people's children, that sort of work is undervalued and has been for as long as I think anyone can go back.
Okay, that's number 1.
Yeah. The second thing, I think I'm angry that women are not valued as whole human beings.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. We're only seen as, sit here and look pretty. Our ideas aren't valued. Like we said, our anger is not valued. And I'm sorry, there's a lot of value in anger. And I think anger can be utilized in some really significant ways. I think we've seen it in issues that have come up in the last couple of years, like with the election. People were angry, so people got mobilized.
That's true.
And there were a lot of really strong, significant women who tapped into that anger and helped get other people mobilized. So that anger came into play, right? And it was utilized. And I don't know if this is really a third thing or if it's just sort of tied into all of it, is that because of the way that we have been conditioned, I think we police ourselves.
We do.
We police ourselves and we police other women. Like, I don't know about you, but I cannot tell you how many times I've been shushed, especially by other women.
And or smile.
Yeah, smile, huh? Yeah. And that chaps my ass. Like, don't tell me to shush. Don't tell me that I'm too loud. You don't tell a guy he's too loud, right?
I've been being told I've been too loud my whole life.
Yeah.
Because I'm loud.
Well, yeah, but that's fun.
But why is it too loud? Who gets to decide my loudness is too much for you?
Exactly. Maybe you aren't loud enough.
Maybe I have a lot to say.
Absolutely. Get that shit off your chest. It's not good to carry that around. Talk about it.
That's why we're having this Madness Cafe podcast, so I can speak. And you
Exactly.
And our guests can speak.
Yes.
Yeah, I really hope our listeners get engaged because I want to hear what they have to say around these issues. I want to hear how they've been shushed because now that you say that, I'm pissed.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there are so many people who shush me all the time, and it just drives me nuts.
What do you think it is in a person that they feel like they can walk up to Raquel Howard and say, Raquel, shh, you're a full adult grown woman. Why do they get to shush you?
I think it goes back to I'm a woman of, and I'm not saying that this is what the person is thinking, that it's top of mind when they're doing it, but hello, come on, we've all been affected by society in ways known and unknown. So yeah, it's there.
Okay, agreed.
But I think because I'm a woman of color, oftentimes the person shushing me is not of color. So I think there's some aspect of you don't get to be as loud because you, woman of color, aren't allowed to. Plus, I think there's the stereotype of the loud, angry Black woman. So I think that's intimidating for people.
Yeah.
So if I'm loud, I've even been told when I'm loud, excited, like loud, happy, that I'm intimidating.
You're supposed to shrink yourself to make the people around you comfortable.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to swear? Am I allowed to swear on your podcast? Fuck that.
Right. Well, we already said bullshit and ass. So go ahead. Fuck that shit.
Fuck that, Raquel.
Yeah.
Fuck that fucker who told you to shush.
Yeah. Because it drives me crazy. And it's also seen as if you're loud, you're not being professional. So there's the assumption that you don't know how to be professional.
No. And
I'm like,
No, because men are loud all the time.
Yes.
No.
I have been shushed by men.
Right. Men are loud all the time.
Didn't shush other men. And I'm like,
right.
What? This is not okay. This is not okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So
what about you? What are some of the things what are the 3 things, or maybe only 3, because there might be more than 3.
Okay. So a lot of people know that I'm taking care of my mom who has Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. And I have been really angry during this process. And I actually started going to therapy because of it, because I have this is hard to admit, I have anger about taking care of my mom when I feel like she didn't do a super good job of taking care of me as a child. So there is some anger about how I was raised. Now I'm taking care of my mom. It compromises my job a little. I am a female, therefore I am the provider. However, I'm the only living child of my mother. So of course I'm the one taking care of her. Okay, so there's some anger around that. And after doing therapy, I realized that a lot of that anger at its base is really fear, but it comes out as anger. So I've been working on that, but I have a lot of anger around childhood issues.
Yep. Join the club.
Number 2, my anger comes from being a woman in the workforce. Same kind of thing as you. I don't think I've been shushed, so that really pisses me off to hear that. But I have been interrupted all the time. Or I'm in a Zoom conference with a group of people. Sometimes I'm the only female present, and I go to say something and I'm cut off. Or they'll ask two of us, they'll say, Jennifer and other person, how do you feel about such? And I go to speak, and that other person always speaks over me.
Mm.
And I'm loud, so I can only imagine a less aggressive woman and what they're facing. I don't have to deal with the issues of being a woman of color, although my children do. And so I know that I'm privileged. I know in that regard that I'm privileged, and I still get cut off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I feel a little bit of anger talking to you because I feel like my situation sucks. Yours must be even worse. Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a way to look at it, for sure.
Okay, so that
there's
pisses me
definitely
off.
an added layer of, you know.
And the third anger, okay, this one's deep. The third anger that has been upsetting me for most of my life is that my value, and I also going to therapy for this and realizing that isn't true. This is just something we've been told and internalized, as you were hinting at.
Right.
But that my value as a woman is really based upon what I look like.
Yeah.
Instead of, and obviously everybody wants to be attractive. It's not that, you know, we don't want to be say, oh, I love your haircut, or oh, that outfit's beautiful, or aren't you looking radiant today? But I have so much more value to me than based on what I look like. And I don't like it as a society that we don't value people if we don't feel that they are attractive.
Yeah.
So this person, whoever they are, like I feel like I'm blessed. I'm a pretty decent looking person. But what if I wasn't? Does that take away all my value? I'm then the unseen of society? That pisses me off to my core. We're human beings.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We have more value than, and then we're sold so much. Like if you buy this pair of jeans, you are going to be more attractive, or if you have the right hair color and the right stylist and this kind of makeup and this kind of perfume, and if you carry a purse made by so and so, and if you have some Gucci shoes and all of that, then all of this makes us more attractive. And it's like, that's bullshit, people. We have been, marketers have known forever that if they can make us feel less than, we will purchase to feel better. But it doesn't really work. I mean, anybody who's ever tried it, I've certainly tried it. It doesn't really work. Even losing weight, even like getting a new haircut, even all of those things, they only work temporarily, because even though society has told us that's our value, it's not.
Yeah. Well, and then you also have to look at who's defining what beautiful is, and who's defining that value.
Oh my God. It's so sick when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Consumerism is defining it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and it's the dominant culture that's defining it, right? Like, God, for decades it was all defined by white men, right? You know, they were the victors, right? So, you know, the victors write history. To the victors go the spoils. You know, the victors define things, right? You know, who's been in marketing for the vast history
big,
of
fat, ugly white men. I'm sorry, but big, fat, ugly white men are deciding who's beautiful?
Well, yeah. But that's changing. That is changing, thankfully, but it's not changing as quickly as people want it to. And like think about, like, growing up, I did not feel beautiful at all. Never felt pretty, right? Growing up. I looked nothing like my mom at all. My mom, beautiful, tall, thin, very, very light, long red hair, green eyes. Like, I look nothing like my mom. She's basically built like a runway model. So I was always like, oh, I don't look like my mom. I didn't look like these women in these magazines. And then, you know, we moved around a lot when I was a kid. And when we got to Michigan, you know, small town in Michigan, I didn't look like anybody. So I was like, I don't look like all these kids.
When did you, what grade were you when you moved to Michigan?
It was the very end of 6th grade.
Oh, tough time.
Like literally like the last week of 6th grade.
So right before junior high.
Yeah, so right before junior high. So that's a weird time for kids to be kind of yanked out of their routine anyway. Here we are, this Southern family in small town Michigan, and I just felt like a fish out of water, and
Of course.
felt, just looked really different from everybody. Yeah, so I always felt unattractive, always. I go through college, still was like, nah, I don't really see, whatever. I'm just kind of the funny looking kid. After college, I started working at my university at Vanderbilt and went on a business trip to New York, went to a conference. Going to New York, and this was the first time that I literally like walked around. And I mean, New York is a very cosmopolitan city. Lots of, people, just the rainbow, just walking down the street. And I remember walking out of my hotel and just walking up and down the street in Manhattan and literally looking around, seeing people who looked like me. And I thought, for the first time in my life, this is the first time that I feel pretty. Because there were other people who looked like me who didn't look like the stereotype, right?
Yeah.
Who didn't look like the typical standard American beauty. Blonde, white, blue eyes, thin. These were like people of all different shapes and sizes and colors and hair and all the things. And I felt pretty for the first time.
Okay, 2 things I have to say about that. Number one, Raquel, little Raquel girl at in 6th grade, you're beautiful.
Thank you.
You are beautiful. And number 2, my daughter had the same experience. So my children, their father is Mexican. So they are boring vanilla white like me, and they're half Mexican. I personally am kind of attracted to that Mexican culture, but that's a whole nother episode, right? When my daughter graduated from high school, she went to FIT in New York, and it was the first time she really met women from the Latina culture, like really clearly. And she was like, I am missing a huge part of my culture.
Yeah.
Like, she was raised kind of as a white kid in the middle of Michigan. I totally hear what you're saying. Like, to see yourself, see.
And it's not like it was just Black people that I was seeing in New York, because, hello,
it's everybody.
Everybody, right? Yeah. So it was all these people who were just, like, it was just amazing. I mean, and to think back on that, I mean, that makes me angry that my whole life basically feeling like I wasn't pretty because I didn't fit that stereotype. And trust me, my family, very supportive. It's not like my mom was like, "Oh, you are an awful kid." That's not my mom. Does not do that. My mom she has a great heart, and she's always told me I was pretty. I mean, always. But who believes their mom, right?
Nobody believes mommy. I wish I could go back to all of those kids in high school, including myself, my kid, and be like, girl, you're beautiful. You know what did it for me is I had kids. I had 2 girls, and I started to see myself in them. And like, as I'm watching my kids grow up, just their life force is so incredibly beautiful. Just, you know what I mean? They just, and I looked at them and I was like, oh my God, all kids are beautiful. There's not a single kid that is not beautiful.
Yeah.
But we all go around like with this comparison. Well, I don't look like that. I don't look like that. My biggest problem in high school was I thought I was fat. I was like, oh, you're too fat. And like, what is this fat phobia stuff? Like, I thought, you're fat, therefore you are unlovable.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. You know what? It's from society. It's from marketing to put value on the wrong things. Right?
I know.
Put value on what you look like. That put value on if you're quiet. That put value on, are you nice? That put value on, are you seen and not heard? I mean, it's just.
All right, I just had an aha moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
You kept saying, they put value, they put value, they put value. It's all from the outside. The only person that it really matters is yourself. What do you value about yourself? That's the only true self-love comes first.
That's true.
Self-love is I know I sound like a hokey crazy right now, but I feel like, okay, like, since I've sort of come into balance with this, like, I'm still chubby. I don't call myself fat anymore because fat sounds like a swear word. Like, you're okay, I'm chubby, but damn, I'm cute. I'm a
You
cute
are
little chubby. Yeah, I hear you. I am.
Yeah.
If I allowed the outside to decide, they would tell me I'm fat.
Oh,
The
yeah.
only acceptance of that has to come from myself. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm chubby. I'm cute. I'm not
Yeah.
fat because that's a swear word.
Right.
Right. Or
Well,
my favorite word is obese. That's the one I really love. You are obese.
yeah.
Oh, that's like heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
I've never told anyone this, but I was rated obese on a weight thing.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
feel like
I definitely am right now.
that is like the worst. You're not obese, Raquel. You're beautiful. That's another swear word. That's derogatory, and I don't accept it. And you're not obese.
Well,
And
thank
I'm
you.
not obese. Okay, we both have a little bit of weight to lose. Okay, we can accept that, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
we don't lose it. This is who we are. So what?
True. I hear that. I do. I totally hear you. It's, and and that kind of going back to what you were saying about the self-worth piece, getting to the point where you either develop your love for self or you remember your love for self.
Good words.
That sometimes takes time.
52 years.
Yeah, right? And I think sometimes it takes a little help. Hello. I think once we get to the point where we start to tap into that, I think that ties into, and stay with me on this because I know it's going to be a little bit attenuated, but that ties into the anger piece in that when you have that self-love piece and that ties into the anger, you can then utilize that anger and get something out of it. And you can use that anger in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because if you have one without the other, there's huge imbalance there. If you're just angry, that's not any good, right? If you're just like, I'm great, I'm awesome, okay, that's cool, love yourself, that's cool, but
what does it do
with that, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can take the two together, then you can utilize that to make a difference,
to destroy the world,
right? Maybe destroy the patriarchy. How about that?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
If you can tap into the anger, that, like I said, if you are angry about something, you aren't paying attention. So you can tie those two together and put that to the good of other people, not just for yourself. Because if you're doing good for other people, you're lifting yourself as well. That's where we can take that anger and do something with it.
Okay, I get that. Like, okay, we've all seen those people that get angry and they really do go out and destroy the world, and that's never good. They hurt other people because they're angry. That's self-destructive. And I really believe if what hurts one of us hurts all of us. So we need solutions to build us all up. What helps one of us helps all of us. But I guess my real question around this women and anger thing is like, okay, we just outlined why we have anger. It's all very legitimate. We just outlined what's the right thing to do with anger. But why, Raquel, why are women not allowed to be angry? Like, why are we supposed to be? I've heard what you said about Black angry woman is seen as, it's a stereotype. It's like, oh, she's just a Black angry woman. So it's almost like you got to pretend like you're not angry in order to have a voice. Why are you not allowed to be angry, and why am I not allowed to be angry? Why are we not allowed? What are they afraid of?
Definitely fear is at the root of it, I think. I really do. I think fear is part of it, because if we're expressing our anger, we aren't being controlled.
Oh yeah, I forget they control us. Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. And there's a fear.
They can't control our anger.
Yeah, and there's a fear to that. So what happens when we can't be controlled? there's a rising up, and they don't know what to do with that. There's
Yeah.
a fear that rising up is going to take things away from them.
Okay, here's a deeper question.
Instead of seeing the rising up as an opportunity to learn.
Okay, here's a deeper question.
Okay.
Why do they want to control us?
To stay in power.
What power? What power? What money?
Yeah, money. Power is a very
Seductive.
significant, seductive drug.
Power over the other.
Absolutely.
Power over the other.
Absolutely. It is a very, for some people, not for everybody.
I honestly think if you get a little power, if you're not careful, like I've heard of, different uprisings in other countries where the government's doing something terrible. You have this group, they go off, they fight, they get a little taste of the same power when they win, and then they do the same corruptive things that they were fighting against in the beginning because they have that little taste of power. They get off focus of what their goal, what their mission was. Like, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but you get a little bit more money, you just want some more money.
Yep.
More, you want some more. Like, is enough money ever enough? Is enough power ever enough? Also, I believe that power and money, they're not the root cause of our happiness. Like, we think they do. We think they will bring us this. And so maybe when you get a little bit and you think you're going to be happy and you're not, you're like, well, a little bit more will get it.
I think it's if those things are just sort of unadulterated. Power left unchecked is not good for anybody. Just accumulating money for the sake of accumulating money, some could argue that that's not good either, right? But if you're accumulating power or you're accumulating wealth or accumulating position to achieve other things, I think that's maybe where that maybe can kind of temper things a little bit, I think.
Like what? Like what kind of things?
Like in the situation where a group rises up and then they become powerful and then they just end up being like another version of the other people who are in power. Yeah. If those people rise up and achieve power with the purpose of raising up everybody else and improving life for everybody, then that's where you
But in most of these historical cases, that was their goal in the beginning. That was their goal, was to...
I don't know if it was always the goal. I think it was sometimes just to overthrow and to be in power, not to remove their shackles and improve life for everybody. For instance, in South Africa, when Nelson Mandela became president, it wasn't just, hey, now all the black people are going to be over all the white South Africans. No, his idea was this is for everybody's benefit and improvement, that we come together as a country and it's better for everybody, not just now the black people are going to be in power and all the white people are going to be, downtrodden.
So everything is in a hierarchy.
Well, there's always going to be hierarchy, but I think if you can level it out a little bit, maybe, or at least have that as something that you think about, maybe that's where it helps, I think. And maybe I'm just being, bleeding heart, Pollyanna, whatever, but I think there has to be that balance. There's a fear of that balance. And so when women express their anger, there's a fear of that anger is just going to come in and overtake instead of just removing the constraints to make everybody equal. There's a fear that making people equal is going to take away from the people in power.
Do you believe as a woman that you are equal to men?
Absolutely. And in some cases, and somebody's going to at me about this, I know it. But in some cases, better. I mean, I
think women are better than men?
I think women have qualities that men don't, or at least express them in ways that men don't. I think men and women complement each other. I don't think women are necessarily better, and I don't think men are necessarily better.
There's some pretty shitty women out there too.
Well, yeah, and just the fact that I'm a woman doesn't mean that I'm better than like a guy standing next to me, right?
Yeah.
But by the same token, a guy being a guy doesn't make him better than me just because he's a guy,
Yeah,
right?
it's just interesting that everything we do in this society, probably every society around the world, is all by rank. It's like talking about like this. Am I better than you? Are you better than me? Is a man better than a woman? Is a woman better than it's always we're always ranked. Whereas I actually believe on some level we're all the same. I really do believe in the I don't know if this is time to talk about spirituality, but I believe like in the world of spirituality, when we hurt our neighbor, we are
Mhm.
hurting ourselves. People just see that connection. If you believe that, if this man believes he's better than you, he's over you, he hurts you, maybe he hurts you or steals from you or whatever. I believe he's unaware of it, but I believe he's actually hurting himself in that process.
Yeah, I mean, in the greater scheme of things, yeah. On a day-to-day basis, maybe not.
I don't know. Sometimes I think, okay, maybe they don't think so, but maybe you don't think so. Maybe you don't see it. But maybe when he looks at himself in the mirror and he knows what a shit he is, he's the one that has to look at his face every day, right?
Right,
Like when
right.
you look in the mirror, you're a pretty good person, Raquel. You're kind, you're caring, you're empathetic, you're a person of service. You look in the mirror and you see someone you're proud to be. You can go home every night and be like, I like me. I'm a good person. You can
Yeah,
put your head on the pillow and sleep knowing that you, but let's say you're not. Maybe you're that guy that you're that shit. And so it appears like, okay, I've got all the wealth, I've stolen it all. But when I go home at night and I look at myself, do I really like myself? Do I sleep well? Do you think Trump liked himself? I think Trump was like, he's a millionaire, billionaire. He's got more money than, but I think when he looks at himself, I think Trump hates himself. That's why he acts like such an ass.
I don't know if I would go that far as to say that he hates himself.
Oh, I think he
I,
has
I don't I
so
don't
much self-hate.
I don't know if
He look like a
he
happy man to you?
well, no, but I don't think he's in tune enough to realize it.
No, he's probably one of the most ignorant people I've ever seen. Who even wants to talk about that? So embarrassing. That makes me angry. You want to talk about anger? That
Yeah,
makes me so angry that our country decided that that was a good idea.
yeah, yeah,
Yikes. Almost anybody would be better.
yeah,
Almost anybody.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
okay, back to that.
yeah.
Okay, he has all the wealth in the world. He could do anything. He didn't even have to work. He could golf every day if he wanted to, right?
Right.
But does he look happy to you? Do you see a man who is like pleased with himself? Do you see a man that goes home and looks in the mirror and is like, I
But
like,
that's not where he puts his value. That's not what he values. Happy isn't something that he values, right? Money, money.
so he's pleased with himself because he's got
Yes,
a lot of money?
yes, yes,
Ugh, ugh,
yes,
ugh, ugh.
yes, yes.
Okay, well, I'm all ranking. We're all better than him.
But I like it. Okay, that works. But
Ooh, I didn't know we were gonna go there.
I know, right? I'm just, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put it out there that will probably come up in more episodes than not.
I will never understand why we did that.
Yeah.
I will never understand it.
Well, I think it goes. I think it ties into maybe what we're talking about. About today's topic of women and anger, because
Women voted for him.
well,
He sat there and talked about grabbing a woman by the pussy.
right.
I hate to say that word out loud, but he did. He said it, and people
Yeah.
were like, "Oh yeah, no, it doesn't matter to me. I'll vote for him."
There was something. Him getting elected, confusing, frustrating, just mind blowing result. But one thing that it did is it forced a segment of society, women, not just women, but it did force some women to tap into that anger about the way that society had been treating us, and which was personified by his comment about, oh, you can just grab him by the pussy, it's fine,
No, because he has money, he can just touch any woman he wants to.
But even men who don't have money, some men who don't have money feel that way, right? Yes, there's the money aspect, but that whole event or series of events gave women the impetus to tap into the anger and to get something done and to mobilize. Like I was saying before, we took the anger and we used it to mobilize. In that situation, specifically talking about a political movement that actually that benefited both of us, and that women were motivating and utilizing their anger to rise up against what Trump stood for. Okay.
But we did that. Did it change anything?
It did. First off, because it got a lot of women and men to tap into that anger and to learn how to utilize it in a positive way. Like, look at all the organizations that came out of that. MoveOn.org, Black Voters Matter, Fair Fight Action, all of these things came out of that series of events that led to Donald Trump getting elected. Okay, so the anger was utilized in a positive way. On the other hand, there, women who have different political views than us, who were angry about organizations that we care about, those women utilized their anger in a different way, and built up the NRA, or built up QAnon or whatever. The point being that the anger was utilized, it was tapped into. So instead of just being quiet, seen and not heard,
demure,
demure,
sit anger, there and look pretty.
Exactly, the anger was utilized. So in those situations, the anger was a force for change, as opposed to it being internalized and used as a way to self-shackle.
Yes. So, kind of in summary, they don't want us to show our anger. They're trying to teach us to suppress our anger, to keep us under control, so that we don't realize our own power and become who we could be.
Exactly. And I think that sentence right there, that thought that you just summed up, that applies to any group of people that have been othered, whether it's ethnic minorities, religious minorities, LGBTQ community, or, in other countries, like in African countries, different tribes. I mean, it's not just black and white, right?
And it's not just men and women.
Right. So what you just summarized is huge. That is just the umbrella for 99% of the ills in the world, I think.
All right, Raquel, really good episode. I think we learned a lot today.
I think so too. And you know what? I really want to hear from our listeners. I want to know what y'all think about all that.
And what are you pissed off about?
What thoughts came up for you? What conversations are you having based on what we talked about today? What do you want us to talk more about? Like, what?
Let's be angry together.
Yeah. Tell us what you're angry about, people.
Yeah, really great episode. I appreciate you all hanging with us. I appreciate you, Raquel.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, Jennifer.
And one more thing I want to say. I want to remind you one more time, to your 6th grade little girl and my 6th grade little girl. You two are beautiful. You're pretty. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You're amazing just the way you are. And it's okay to be angry, because anger is just an emotion. If we don't learn to express it, what does it do to us? That's a whole nother. Bye, Raquel.
Bye, Jennifer.
Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week.
You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.